Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of the MCR. Mac and me, my name's TJ. And by the time this segment airs, Christmas will have passed. So we here at the MCR hope that everyone had a very enjoyable Christmas time, time spent with relatives and loved ones, and hope everyone has a happy new year. I'll speak for myself on this. I don't know if I'm necessarily big on New Year's resolutions, but at the same time, if there's ever a time to address issues within your life, the New Year's is as good a time as any to do so. You know,
Yeah.
so that's how I kind of look at the whole New Year's thing. But on to the topic, okay? And last week, and everyone's had to have heard this by now, and we're just compelled to share our thoughts on this matter. But last week, Colorado, they voted to take Trump off the primary ballot, and the Colorado State Supreme Court saw fit to rule that it's legal to do so. I don't know if I'm describing it correctly or wording it correctly.
They made a court decision that said that it was constitutional under Colorado's constitution to take someone off the ballot for an accusation, essentially.
Yeah, and they were referencing the 14th Amendment also.
Yeah, Article 3 of the 14th Amendment, which basically says if you're a criminal, you can't run for president.
And my gut response was it's time that the Republicans start doing the same thing. Okay. And also I thought, now other states are going to do it. And sure enough, within 24 hours, you had California and New York wanting to do the same thing. And more than just the primary ballot, the presidential ballot.
Well, you remember in our election here in Michigan, we had a very popular candidate by the name of James Craig, and he had been police chief in Detroit. Yes. Very popular there, did a great job. And he wanted to run for governor. Well, they made sure he didn't, because the Democrats now, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, they're going to pick our candidates for us.
Yes.
They want to, and they picked a very controversial candidate in Tudor Dixon, who was, some might say, over the top on abortion, but while I agree with her on most things, she didn't have any allowance for it under any circumstance, which I didn't agree with. But so they're going to pick our candidates, and right now they're trying to pick Tulsi Gabbard to be our presidential candidate.
A little side note on this: I just recently read a news report, and this shocks me a little bit. Governor Newsom of California, he's not necessarily in favor of it. I think even Governor Newsom knows where this is heading.
Well, it should be struck down by the Supreme Court. It seems like a no-brainer. But hey, since we live in bizarro world, who can count on anything to be taken care of properly?
Well, and as I heard about Democrats wanting to take Trump off the ballot, and in like mind, Republicans doing the same thing, and the Republicans need to do the same thing. If this is how the game is played,
I would agree. If the court says it's okay, then yeah, we need to do the same thing.
Well, and here's the thing: but if the court says it isn't okay, then neither party takes candidate off the ballot.
Well, I wouldn't do that unless they said it was okay. Yeah. They're not going to say it's okay because President Trump has not been convicted of a crime.
Yeah,
he's just been accused.
That's the insanity of it all. Is
he they want to skip due process.
It's just and one of the thoughts that came to my mind is there's a movie trailer that's been coming out the last couple of weeks, and all the pundits are talking about it. And it's only a 2.5 trailer right now, where it's called Civil War, where the United States falls into a state of civil war, not necessarily North and South, but states seceding from the Union, and this thing's due to release come spring. And here's my thoughts. Here's my concern. When this Trump issue comes to a head, it's going to be in the same time frame as the release of this movie, and people on both sides are most likely going to dig in.
Well, we very early on, almost 5 years ago now, we did a video, and we said that we thought a civil war would happen. Marty was with us then. Marty seemed to think we were, and I don't believe you and I were, saying it was going to be imminent. But I've said it for 20 years that I think it's coming, because we're all getting so dug in our positions to where there's nothing left for anybody to do but that.
Yeah. And I if they're not wanting to kill babies, they're wanting to take our firearms or our money, our income. And
what's being exposed again, and President Trump just being in the arena, he just keeps exposing these people for who they are. Like, you've got past federal judges saying it's constitutional to keep him off the ballot, when they know damn well it isn't. They went to law school, but they're going to say it is, because everything they do is based on a lie. And this lie is that there was an insurrection at all. There was no insurrection. So what they want to keep him off the ballot for is his part in the insurrection, which, by the way, did not happen.
Yeah, and I read another report. Even Bill Barr is throwing out there how dangerous a Trump presidency is going to be, and it just
based on what? What is he saying exactly? What is so dangerous? Is it a danger to the democracy, which we don't have? Also, a lie.
If I had disdain for the Democrats, I have greater disdain for these high road Republicans. You know know
what? Any of them. If I wake up on Christmas morning, which is tomorrow in this case, and I find out that Bill Barr dropped dead, or Mitt Romney dropped dead, or any of these bastards dropped dead, that would be my Christmas present.
Well, as I've mentioned before in previous segments, I'm a fan of Dan Bongino. I listen to Dan Bongino a lot, who, by the way, has hit 3 million followers on Rumble now. Okay, he has 3 million followers on Rumble, and he routinely averages well over 100,000 views during his live Rumble podcast. Okay.
Dan, he's got a great show.
Yeah. He's come out with a term, and I in a scary sort of way, I think he's onto something, and it's just, I find it disconcerting. He goes, given the lack of morals of the progressives, and he goes,
AKA communists.
Yeah. He goes, they lack a braking mechanism. And allow me to explain here. For instance, you and I take issue with abortion because we believe it to be immoral. Well, for instance, since they have, I will say, atheistic beliefs, their view of the unborn child is different than ours, thus no braking mechanism to the point of it's fine to kill that unborn baby up to the moment of birth. You see what I'm saying? And I'm using that as an example of no braking mechanism.
Yeah, let me add to what you just said there, which is that extends to the rest of us. There's no human dignity. You can walk up and shoot a guy in the head because you don't like him.
And you know what? That is exactly what's happening on the streets of so many of these cities.
Yeah.
Sucker punching, look at the way they just walk into the stores and steal now. They do it because there's no braking mechanism.
Yeah, well, certain communities in this country seem to lack any sort of impulse control whatsoever. I want it, I'm going to do it. That's their philosophy. Well, that's got a horrific consequence comes with that, because not everyone's playing that game. Some people, it said,
my concern is
They'll shoot you if you come in the house to get your VCR. I said, some people will say, if you come into their house to get their VCR, they'll kill you.
Well, and I recall that discussion, and what irritated me is it wasn't necessarily the act of the thieving of the VCR, but the whole premise of violating the sanctity of my domicile in doing so.
Yeah, well, some people don't understand that.
But
sorry to sidetrack us there a minute, but I couldn't let that go by.
Well, as we digress.
Yes.
But I guess what concerns me, this is where I wanted to lead to. Since they have no braking mechanism, and President Trump must be stopped at all costs, Tucker Carlson and Dan Bongino have mentioned it that a worst case scenario might occur with President Trump, nominee Trump, however you want to define him, during next year's presidential season. Okay, there's no braking mechanism, and if the ends justify the means, then they got to do what they got to do to ensure Trump never becomes president. And that is my big ultimate.
The ends justifying the means in and of itself is really bad. But when you add amorality to it, now it becomes flat out dangerous for everyone.
The end justifies the means, and then you apply no braking mechanism. Yep. Is I guess what I'm trying to get to here.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, well, I guess the movie's gonna let everyone know how it's gonna play out.
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
And we said this when President Trump, when he was president in office, he broke so many people. He broke the Democrats. Yep. He broke the high road Republicans. He broke the DC establishment. He pulled the curtain away and exposed the George Wills, the Bill Kristols, even the Bill Barrs. Well,
here's what they really are. He said he was going to drain the swamp. Well, he didn't drain it, but he lowered it enough for us to see who the hell was in it. And all the aforementioned were certainly in it.
Yeah. And no one in the DC establishment wants Trump back in office. And without the braking mechanism, whatever happens, the ultimate pragmatist is, they're going to do as they see fit.
Because they don't have impulse control.
Exactly.
They want what they want because they want it, and you're going to give it to me, or I can punch you in the face if you have a hat on I don't like, because that makes you a Nazi.
Yeah. So that's all I necessarily got. I as to what we do, we still have to vote. And people are going to say, well, they're just going to cheat. Well, we got to make them cheat. And you got to make them cheat. And something else Dan Bongino says, if it gets bad enough, people will change. You're hearing more and more about residents of the inner cities. Heck, Chicago, I don't know if you heard about this, Mac, but there was a city council meeting a week or so ago where people got up and said they needed Trump back in office, and I'll quote the guy, to fix this shit,
Well, part of the problem, and you know what, largely I'll agree with those people. They're getting a little taste of what they asked for by, let's be sanctuary cities. Let these people come in. They're dreamers, but they don't want them dreaming in their neighborhood, using their resources. They like it. They don't mind them down there in Texas where they don't see them or have to deal with them or any of that stuff. So,
I don't know if
I kind of get a little chuckle, as you like to say, a perverse chuckle out of the fact that they're having to deal with what they asked for.
Yes, and I'll take ownership of that term too. But now we're off topic a little bit, but like Chicago and other cities were threatening to stop the buses before they got to the city limits. And so you know what Governor Abbott's now doing? He's just flying them in. He says,
Yeah, stand on the runway and stop the plane from coming in. See how that works.
You know what?
Out.
Stop the buses. Fine. We'll just fly them in. You know. And
yep.
so.
Hey, if they walk from Guatemala, they can walk from the suburbs into Chicago.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I read another news report too where. And I did see this some months ago, and then I saw it just the other day where some of these illegals, I think they're getting a dose of reality when they get here, and now it's winter. They got nowhere to go. They got nothing to eat, and they're actually knocking on doors soliciting for free food, Yeah. And I guess that'll be interesting as to how that plays out.
If hungry people came to your door, would you help them out?
That's a hard question.
Yeah, well, I look at it this way, but for the grace of God, there go I.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you called me out on that one, that's for sure.
Well, it's late in the video, and so few are watching.
Yeah. So that's all I got. Here's the thing. Personally, for me, I'm just starting to prep. I'm just starting to prep. Because who knows where this? Who really knows where this is going to end up? And
well,
you pray to God it doesn't end up like a movie.
It's going to get stopped, or it's going to go all the way.
Yeah.
Since we have no brakes.
Yeah. Yep. And that is my fear. And that's it for me. Anything else?
No. All right. Pay attention, people. That's all I can tell you.
Well, here's a New Year's resolution for everyone. Start prepping. Determine in yourself that you will be prepared. Okay.
Yep.
And we'll leave it at that. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for give us a chance to share our thoughts with y'all. And with that, that's a wrap. As always, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.